Before the dinosaurs. Before the first fish crawled onto land. Even before the first bone was ever formed. This world belonged to bugs. Not the kind you find in your garden. We're talking about giants. Millipedes, as long as a car. Dragonflies, the size of hawks. And in the murky waters, sea scorpions, that would make a great white shark think twice. This was Earth's first age of monsters. They were the undisputed rulers of the planet. So, what happened? Why did they get so terrifyingly big? And what could possibly have wiped them out? We're about to find out. Welcome back to the Time Traveler Zoo. Today, we're dialing the clock way back to a time when the air itself was different, and the land was a kingdom of crawling, creeping, and flying titans. Let's get our coordinates locked and loaded. Destination: the Carboniferous Period, approximately 320 million years ago. Hang on tight. The atmosphere here is thick. Time portal, engage! Whoa, okay, breathe it in, but be careful. The air here is nearly 35% oxygen compared to our 21% today. That's what's fueling this incredible alien jungle. Forget toweling. Trees, listen. Hear that? That's the sound of the true rulers of this era. This isn't just a forest. It's an empire built by arthropods. And we're about to meet its royalty. Look over there, moving through the undergrowth. That's no log. That's Arthropleura, an 8-foot-long, armored millipede. It's the largest land invertebrate of all time. Despite its menacing appearance, it was likely a gentle giant, a herbivore munching on decaying plant matter. But with that many legs and that much armor, nothing would dare mess with it. It's like a living, breathing freight train. Now, look up. That shadow sweeping across the canopy isn't a bird. It's Meganeura, a griffin flea, often called a giant dragonfly, with a wingspan of 2.5 feet. It was one of the largest insects to ever take to the sky. It was a swift, terrifying aerial predator, snatching smaller insects and maybe even small amphibians right out of the air. Imagine a drone-sized dragonfly hunting in your backyard. That was the reality here. But the true apex predator wasn't on land or in the air. For that, we have to go to the water's edge. In these shallow swamps and estuaries lived a true nightmare, Jaekelopterus, a sea scorpion stretching over 8 feet long, with powerful claws and a segmented tail. It was the king of this aquatic realm, the T-Rex of its time. Nothing was safe. So how did they get so massive? It all comes down to 2 key factors. First, that super oxygenated air. We mentioned bugs don't have lungs like we do. They breathe through a network of tiny tubes called trachea that deliver oxygen directly to their cells. In our time, this system is only efficient enough for small bodies. But in the high-octane air of the Carboniferous, it was like putting them on rocket fuel. This rich atmosphere allowed their bodies to grow to unbelievable sizes. Second, they had the place to themselves. Vertebrate animals with backbones were still small, clumsy newcomers on land. The big evolutionary stage was completely dominated by with few predators and endless resources. They had the freedom to evolve into these colossal forms. They weren't just part of the ecosystem. They were the ecosystem. Let's break down that bug biology a bit more. That shiny armor on Arthropleura, it's an exoskeleton. Think of it as a suit of armor that the bug wears on the outside. It's strong and provides great protection, but it has a major drawback. It doesn't grow. To get bigger, an arthropod has to mulch at its old, tight exoskeleton and puff up its new, softer one before it hardens. It's a super vulnerable process. For a creature the size of Arthropleura, molting must have been an incredibly risky ordeal. This exoskeleton system is also a major reason why bugs can't get this big today. Our lower oxygen levels are the primary limiting factor, but gravity and the sheer weight of a large exoskeleton also play a huge role. Imagine A modern ant scaled up to the size of a dog. Its own exoskeleton would be too heavy for its legs to support. The physics just don't work in our modern world. The Carboniferous Period was a unique, perfect storm of conditions that allowed for this temporary empire of giants. A window in time that would soon close. The reign of the giant bugs couldn't last forever. The world began to change. Over millions of years, the climate shifted. The vast, swampy forests started to dry up, and a crucial change occurred in the atmosphere. Oxygen levels began to drop. That supercharged air that had fueled their gigantism was thinning out. As the oxygen fell, the giant arthropods began to struggle. Their respiratory systems could no longer support their massive bodies. They were essentially suffocating in slow motion. The very thing that made them mighty became their downfall. The age of bugs ended not with a bang of an asteroid, but with a quiet, collective gasp for breath. At the same time, a new challenger was entering the ring. While the bugs were shrinking, vertebrates were adapting. The first reptiles evolved with more efficient lungs and circulatory systems perfectly suited to this new, lower oxygen world. They were faster, smarter, and could grow large without relying on thick air. The tables had turned. The tiny, scuttling mammals and reptiles that once hid from giant dragonflies were now the ones doing the hunting. The empire of arthropods had fallen, making way for the age of reptiles and, eventually, the dinosaurs. But did they really disappear? Not at all! They just downsized. The descendants of these ancient titans are all around us. Every time you see a cockroach, a centipede, or a dragonfly, you're looking at a living fossil or survivor from a lost world. They may be smaller now, but their ancestors' blueprint for success is undeniable. They are still one of the most successful groups of animals on the planet, found in every corner of the globe. And here's a fun fact. Even though they're smaller, dragonflies are still some of the most effective predators on Earth. They have a hunt success rate of over 95%. They may not be the size of a hawk anymore, but in their own little world, they are still the apex predator, a tiny echo of their formidable ancestors. The bug empire didn't vanish. It just adapted trading size for resilience. So, the next time you swat a fly or see a millipede, remember their ancestors? Remember a time when bugs were not pests, but kings. It makes you wonder, what if the conditions were right again? What if bugs got a second chance to rule the world? Could they? It's a fascinating and slightly terrifying thought. What was your favorite prehistoric bug from today's journey? Or which one would you absolutely never want to meet in a dark alley? Let me know down in the comments. I love reading your ideas. Thank you for joining us at the Time Traveler Zoo. If you enjoyed our trip to the Carboniferous, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure. Because next time, we jump in forward to meet the very first vertebrate that dared to walk on land and challenge the bug empire. See you then.